Microscopic Lust. Chapter 16. Morning, everyone. Helena descended the stairs to the dining room. She was still wearing the yukata, but she was tying the ropes this time. Gores and Amanda were sitting and having breakfast. Their faces looked fresh, their clothes neat and fragrant. Too snug for a newlywed couple who had their wedding reception last night. "Are you guys going to work already?" Helena was confused. This woman even took time off from work on the grounds of Gore's marriage. Mr. Gores, whose mouth was full of bread, just pointed at the pile of suitcases in the living room. Helena didn't speak again after seeing it. "If you don't mind, Helena, please take care of Octava like an older sister. Sometimes she is too aloof. Only for a week. If you're not busy," Amanda pleaded. Helena immediately showed her right thumb. "Did Octava know you were leaving today?" "We can wait for her to wake up," Gores had just spoken. Unfortunately, the sentence was immediately cut off. "If we wait for that child to wake up, we will miss the plane," said Amanda. Mr. Gores is indeed a person who is careful in spending money. Even though he's a billionaire, he doesn't want to rent a private jet. He didn't even want to have it. Mr. Gores is not a stingy man. He felt enough with what he had now. He chose to save and invest in plantation land and livestock. The simplicity goes down on Helena. "I'll wake her up." Helena immediately got up. "You can eat first." Amanda felt bad. However, Helena had already disappeared from the dining room. Helena knocked twice on the bedroom door, but Octava didn't answer. Helena ventured to open the door to Octava's unlocked room. She wanted to make sure the girl was okay. Octava wasn't on her bed. Helena walked through every corner of the room to the balcony. From there, she could hear the shower sound in the bathroom. "Octava, are you taking a shower?" Helena asked. Then she waited. Since Octava didn't answer either, Helena called again. "I'll break in if you don't answer me." Meanwhile, Octava curled up like a shrimp in the corner of the bathroom. She left the faucet on, splashing her head. She hoped the contents of her head could be washed away with the water into the drain hole. So, she didn't hear Helena's call at all. Octava screwed things up. It only took 2.5 hours, and she screwed it all up. This morning, it was 5 o'clock when she jumped into the car with Ursula. And the professor drove to the outskirts of town. They stopped in the courtyard of a former hotel building and sneaked inside like two naughty teenagers. "What are we going to do here?" Octava asked out of fear. She quickened her pace to catch up to Ursula, who seemed to have longer legs and was used to do exercise. "Just come along. It's important." Ursula didn't look back at all. She focused on the darkness in front of her. She was used to sneaking in here. So, her feet knew the terrain and didn't bump or trip. When they reached the top of the abandoned building, Ursula looked at her watch. "Now we will wait," she explained. She didn't catch her breath. "Oh my. You take me here to see the sunrise, right?" Octava accused her interlocutor. "This is ridiculous." She followed Ursula, hoping to pass the class. She went along with her stepsister's girlfriend. "Just to see the sunrise?" Ursula approached her student. She wrapped her hands around her waist. "What's with the sunrise? This is cheesy. Is this how you write poetry? Wandering in a haunted hotel and watch the sunrise?" Octava felt disappointed. Because this was not as important as what Ursula said. All Octava wanted is to pass the course. Now, if Helena finds out, Octava might be transferred to another university. She could have been dropped out of college. Maybe she can be dumped on the street. And Amanda doesn't mind at all. Ursula searched for Octavia's eyes. She looked at her student with a smile. "What's the definition of poetic event?" she asked. Ursula faced east and waited. Meanwhile, Octavia began to feel uneasy and regretted her stupid actions. She paced around, looking for excuses. She wanted to go home. "Look at that," Ursula muttered. "I see that every day. The sun rises every day. Now, I want to go home. I'll take you later." "Just wait a minute." Ursula narrowed her eyes, the sunlight slowly rising to the surface. "That reddish light will soon wrap around their shivering bodies because of the morning air. You can see that again tomorrow. Now take me home, please," Octavia almost whimpered. Helena's face was raging in her mind. Tomorrow this sunshine will be different. Now is the perfect time. Octavia faced the sun. For a moment, she tried to feel whatever it was the poetic event that Ursula meant. A minute later, she gave up. "I don't want to be mean, but I don't feel anything." Ursula cupped her hand on Octavia's cheek. "Now, it might taste different." And Octavia couldn't answer anymore because Ursula kissed her lips. Octavia thought she would immediately push the woman to the end of the roof and kill her. However, she tugged at Ursula's collar just as the warm sunlight touched her skin. Poetic event. And it was too late for Octavia to stop her professor. She wanted it. She returned the kiss. The more she tried to let go, the more Octavia pushed her lips into Ursula's conundrum. After that poetic event, Octavia came home before everyone in the Gorse residence woke up. She tiptoed to her room. She went into the bathroom and showered herself. "How long have you been here?" Helena burst into the bathroom. She turned off the tap and took a dry towel hanging on the wall. "Are you all right?" Helena made sure again while covering her stepsister with a towel. Octavia didn't answer at all. Her body seemed empty. Octavia's spirit is leaving the shell of the world. She is going into a limbo in the middle of nowhere. She will fly to hell. Helena slowly removed the drenched black dress from Octavia's body. "Hurry and change your clothes before Aunt Amanda come here." Octavia nodded. Her eyes and nose were red from the cold. "I will hold them down, promise to come down soon. They are waiting for you because they will be leaving for their honeymoon soon. At least show up and wave your hand. Don't discourage them from having fun." "Yes?" Helena looked at Octavia with a pity face. She immediately walked to the door. "Helena," Octavia called the girl. She approached Helena, who was still standing behind the door. Helena waited for Octavia to come and kissed her right cheek. "Thanks, Helena," Octavia muttered. Helena was silent. And who knows who started first? Suddenly their lips were pressed against each other. The kiss between them was so deep that Helena felt lost in a brightly lit hallway, but there was no end. They pushed each other. Then the door closed with a loud sound. Octavia and Helena are stuck inside. "Helena! Octavia! We will miss our flight!" Gorse shouted from under the stairs. Microscopic Lust. Chapter 17. Gorse and Amanda had already left when Octavia returned to the world. Like a bear that had just woken up from a long sleep, Octavia rubbed her eyes. She winced as her body ached all over. Maybe because of lack of sleep or the morning breeze that made her chill. Maybe because she's soaking herself in the bathroom. Next to Octavia, her cell phone had been ringing long enough and mixed with her dreams. Tony. Her boyfriend's name appeared on the flickering screen. Octavia yawned once more before answering the call. "Hello, Tony." Octavia stretched her muscles. Her sleep evaporated slowly. One hand pressed the phone to her ear. Others scratched her stomachs. At the same time, Octava realized that this was not her room. And this blanket is not hers. And Clothesh didn't wear anything at all. Yes, Tony, the wedding went well. Sorry I didn't tell you. It's hectic here. And I am exhausted. Tony, can I call you later? Mom and Mr. Gores are calling me. Octava hung up the phone because she couldn't understand her heartbeat. She immediately jumped out of bed. Octava entered her messy room. She found her black dress and wet sneakers lying in front of the bathroom door. She picked it up and put it in the laundry basket. Then, still remembering what had happened, Octava took the clothes from the closet. She wears it. When she remembering something, Octava glared at her reflection in the mirror. She washed her face and found her body turned red from the cold. The girl immediately ran to find Helena. She couldn't find her stepsister in the living room. She couldn't find Helena in the kitchen. Where's Helena? Octava asked their daily maid. Helena is in the garden, miss, replied the maid politely. After saying thanks, Octava ran to the back of the house. Her eyes searched for Helena's figure. Among the well-arranged fruit trees and their large swimming pool, Octava walked briskly toward the small summer house that separated from the main house. Helena was sitting on her terrace casually. She was wearing a bikini, and her hair was wet. But it didn't matter. Octava wasn't looking for Helena to observe her beautiful curves. You are awake, Octava. Good afternoon, eat first. Helena greeted Octava politely. Her voice was calm, and her face was charming. She didn't look suspicious or feel guilty at all. This isn't the time to eat, Helena, Octava replied as she faced her half-sister smoking and drinking coffee. Then, sit here with me. Helena spread her arms as if, at any moment, Octava would run into her arms. We have to talk about what happened between us. Octava stayed where she was. Her face demanded. Helena looked at Octava for a moment. Then she made a super slow-motion act. She took a sip of coffee and put the cup back on the table. Sit here first. Helena spoke softly. Octava became even more irritated at Helena's overly relaxed attitude. You have a girlfriend, Helena. And I have a boyfriend. I'm normal, Helena. I like men. And you made me do that. I don't want to ruin your relationship with Ursula. I won't hurt Tony this way. I want you to understand that we're half-sisters now. What would Mr. Gores and my mother think if they found out? What happened to us was a mistake. This is what sick people do. We better end this. We better not do it again. Octava spoke at length. She almost screamed, but she held it in. The Gores housekeeper is still there. Octava doesn't want anyone to hear about this embarrassing thing. Helena put one foot on top of the other. She looked at Octava carefully before speaking. Ursula doesn't know. My father or your mother don't know. Tony didn't know. What is the problem? They'll find out soon enough, Helena. I am a total mess. They won't know. If you don't tell them, Helena muttered as she stubbed out her cigarette. She got up from her seat and stood in front of Octava. If you break up with Tony, I will do the same to Ursula. Octava bit her lower lip. It's not that easy, Helena. You can't just be like that. I can do anything you ask, Octava. Helena said that confidently. You want me to break up with Ursula? Octava shook her head. This doesn't seem right. Even if Helena broke up with her girlfriend, then what? Octava's relationship with Helena remains unjustified. Unethical. Not just because Octava is heterosexual. But, Helena is the daughter of Mr. Gores. And Mr. Gores married her mother. This is a vicious circle. Then what about Ursula? If Ursula finds out that Helena broke up with her because she slept with Octava, Octava really won't be able to pass the course. Octava's life will be even more miserable. How long have you been dating Ursula? Asked Octava. 5 or 8 years. But we've known each other all our lives. And you're going to break up with her? Just like that? Because of me? Asked Octava. The more she felt that Helena was insane. Yeah, if that's what you want. Helena answered the question calmly. Helena, Octava complained. Maybe for you being in a relationship is a game. You can break up with the person who has been with you for so long just for me. And what makes you believe that you can't play me like that? What made you believe that I would believe in you, that one day you wouldn't just leave me if you were attracted to someone else? Octava glared at Helena. She tried not to fall for the magic of her charming green eyes again. You don't love Ursula, Helena. You know nothing about how much I love Ursula, Octava. Helena was angry. No one could tell Helena about her feelings for Ursula because Helena knew how she felt for Ursula. She loved Ursula with all of her heart. She didn't know how this girl in front of her had caught her attention. Helena had never played a prank during her relationship with Ursula. Helena never loved anyone but Ursula. Mr. Gorse has always given Helena the freedom to love any human being. Men and women are the same as long as that makes Helena happy. And if Helena wanted, she could sleep with anyone. She can buy, she can get voluntary. She doesn't need to find an excuse to sleep with her stepsister. However, Octava is another story. Helena was attracted to the girl from the first time she saw her. It's not just a matter of sleeping together. Helena likes Octava, and her feelings for Octava make Helena remember about her feelings for Ursula. Then go back to your commitments, and don't bother me. Don't look for an excuse to approach me. Octava sneered. I don't want to know what happened to your relationship. Or how you and Ursula went about your relationship. Octava remembered the dummies and all the toys in Ursula's room. I'm an outsider. But, I beg you, stop trapping women like me. I'm not a woman like you. I have Tony, and Tony loves me. I can't hurt him this way. Helena was silent when Octava said that. However, her eyes conveyed sorrow. Octava is insulting her. Octava insulted her sincere feelings. Maybe Helena was wrong. Octava is not a woman who can appreciate her honest feelings. You'd better focus on Ursula instead, Helena. Well, then we have a deal. Helena put her hands on Octava's shoulders. Octava wanted to back away, but Helena's grip was firm. Like an eagle's talon on her shoulder. You can say anything about me, Octava. But, I like you. In your heart, I'm sure you like me too. If you feel uncomfortable, it's up to you to decide. I won't bother you if that's what you want. Helena left Octava still standing there. Octava only dared to breathe a sigh of relief after the woman left. But, how to avoid Helena, who lives in the same house with her? How to prevent Ursula if Octava still needs that value? Octava thought about the misfortune. She wouldn't be able to avoid Helena every day of her life. Maybe it's true. Octava and Helena should stay away from each other.